It's not as simple as just saying, oh, your chakras are beautiful, bam. They will look beautiful for that little bit of time, but if another stressor or a different trigger, which is not always bad, it's just another environmental factor coming to you, they're going to go and change.
Each chakra has a physical, emotional, and spiritual component to it. So based on the chakra that's blocked or that needs to be balanced, that's a lot of intuitive information that the practitioner can receive to help the client.
That ever-changing connection to whatever it is that they have going on. And like I said, like if you don't have those base foundations, the rest of it is like you can try and balance all you want, but if you don't have those other things aligned in your life, then things definitely have an impact.
It's the idea of like the gears of a watch or a clock. If one gets stuck, it's going to influence the others. So you think my heart chakra is closed, but it's not just that.
Basically, everything in the world is energy, frequency, and vibration, and that each one of the chakras is vibrating at its own rate, and each chakra has its own individual things that it will do for us.
Hey everyone, it's Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. A quick message before we dive into today's discussion. You may have been watching our videos, but have not had a chance to hit that subscribe button. So if you have gained value from our conversations, from our channel, it would be so appreciated for us if you would hit that subscribe button below right now and even give us a like. What that means is not only does it allow us to grow our subscriber base, but it also allows us to bring in even more guests for you to listen to. And you will be one of the first ones to be notified. So please hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's wonderful panel discussion.
Hi, everyone in the group tonight. I am Sheila MARINA, and from Planet of Peace Energy Healing, and it's my joy to be your guide today. Tonight we gather across continents to share wisdom, healing, and connection, exploring how restorative Reiki and chakra alignment can restore balance and ignite inner transformation. So whether you're seeking physical relief, emotional healing, or deeper spiritual clarity, may today's discussion offer you insights, inspiration, and empowerment on your journey to harmony. Thank you. And so we've got a great group of women here today. So briefly, I am Sheila MARINA, and my business is Planet of Peace. I'm from Bowmanville, Ontario, and I help people using the emotion code. So if each of our panelists today can just go around and one by one, just briefly say your name and where it is that you're from, what your business is, how you help people, and then we can just pass it around. So we've got some great questions to get to tonight. Jen, you're the first person on my screen there, so if you could just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jen Smith. My company is called Natural Energy Healing. And what I do is I am a Reiki master, so I teach people how to heal. I'm also a quantum healer. So I do quantum chakra balancing with both quantum and Reiki healing. I'm also an empowerment coach, so I take people through a 6-month transformation called Thinking into Results. And that helps really anchor in all after people have been balanced and have the energies balanced within their being, help that anchor it down and stabilize it just through our physical world as we operate. And I am from Illinois, USA.
Wonderful. Yes, I guess I should have said Bowmanville is in Canada. Yes. Okay, and now if we'll just go ahead now, and Natasja, if you could introduce yourself.
Thank you, Sheila. Yeah, I'm Natasja. I'm from South Africa. And just like Jen, I also teach Reiki. I'm a Reiki master. I also treat clients with Reiki. And my whole mission is to spread hope and healing and to facilitate transformation, whether that's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And I also developed an online course called the Happiness Method, which is, as you can imagine from the words, it is teaching you the principles behind happiness. That's me.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Rollie, how about you?
So Gigudo Migunque is my spirit name. So it means talking feather woman. And I am from a very small community in northeastern Ontario, Canada. So, and I too am a Reiki master as well. So this is really interesting. So far, we've got 3 of us that are Reiki masters. And so I use energy healing with bringing in holistic practices, with working with women with the moon. I typically work with women with anxiety and using the energetics of the moon, as well as my experience with working with people in addiction and mental health for a number of years. I bring that holistic practices together to be able to help women navigate through their anxiety and yeah.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Rollie. That's wonderful. Wonderful. And we're both in Ontario there. And so now, Michelle, welcome. Introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. I'll finish out the circle as a Reiki master and teacher myself. So this is super fun. It's not very often that there's so many of us that we get to play together. So I love that. Yeah. So my business is called Unbridled Change. I founded it in 2008. It's a little bit different because it's a nonprofit healing and wellness organization. And I have been working in that field both with equine partnered psychotherapy and then energy work and spiritual coaching as a certified archetypal consultant as well as an astrologer. And so bringing all those pieces together, I'm also work with clients through somatic parts work as a somatic practitioner and a parts work practitioner as well. So lots of lovely little tools in the toolbox, but Reiki really sits underneath of it, and also Eden energy medicine because I'm a certified practitioner with that as well. So I love helping people develop and awaken to their true self and really bring forward that ability to want to live their life fully and love the life that they are living and really start to lead it from their soul center. So that's what I'm about. And I love the topic of healing and harmony and working with the chakras to do it. It's a good system.
Thanks. That's wonderful. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I did leave that out of my introduction. I am also a Reiki master, and I've trained people. I have a home office here, and so people can come here for Reiki, and the Reiki training is also here as well. It is really wonderful, actually, to have all 5 of us all together in the same capacity. And though we all do Reiki a little differently, I noticed I've been to a few different Reiki practitioners, and it's very interesting. So when we go through and we learn about blocked or misaligned chakras, and they can manifest in our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being, we know that as practitioners. So how do you think that restorative Reiki helps to address these imbalances? Michelle, since you were just talking, if you could just think about when those misaligned chakras and how they work their way into our physical and spiritual world. Have you had experiences like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like in Eden energy medicine, it's one of the 9 systems that we work with. And Donna Eden will always say if she has one system to work with and for the most bang for her buck, she's going to go to the chakra system. And I believe that Reiki is that beautiful life force intelligence that is source divine, whatever you want to call it. Asui, the founder of Reiki, said Reiki is love. And love is wholeness, and wholeness is balance, and balance is well-being. and freedom from disease. And so bringing those pieces together, what I have experienced in that Reiki energy of working with our chakras, I have a little different spin, and I'd love to hear what other people's the way that they view and work with chakras, because I find it's so different between so many different practitioners. But I really view and witness and see the chakras as these moving and ever evolving and situational based, beautiful data centers that gather information, bring it through the different programs and different ways in which we work, associate it down, and bring that into our system that allow us to then respond, right? And work with the world around us, either through our front or our back chakras, really talking to ourselves. And so misalignments in the chakra systems are really different survival programs, trauma adaptations, the different ways that we learn to keep ourselves safe, or the book of life that's been passed down to us that really leave a thumbprint or an imprint on how that chakra has been taught to adapt to work with us. And so when we start to invite ourselves to dialogue with this ever moving, shifting book that can flip to any page and say, here's the program that I have that works with this to help keep this beautiful person that I'm attached to safe. You're going into the book of the person. You're going into so many different levels of them, not only as them as individuals, but also them as how they work in their family units and systems. And I really view chakras as ever changing. And so to me, the question that you bring or the client brings to you when they're asking you to work with the chakras, that is really what dictates how and when and how you unwind, how you support it. It's not as simple as just saying, oh, your chakras are beautiful. Bam, they will look beautiful for that little bit of time. But if another stressor or a different trigger, which is not always bad, it's just another environmental factor coming to you, they're going to go and change. And so being able to work with them as a movable thing, because so many times people are like, look at my chakras, tell me what they say. And I'm like, what are you thinking right now? What are you feeling right now? And what are you worried about? That's going to tell me why your chakras are doing what you're doing. And we can inform them. So we're not just like sitting willy-nilly waiting for them to decide to open or to support us or to give us that center. So that's really what I like to really focus on to helping with that realignment, is that one, helping people realize they're ever changing. And how do I then start to talk to them? And how do I start to open to them? And how do I start to learn what they're sharing with me? And then dialogue, do I still need to be that way? I don't know if that answered your question. Did I get a little off topic? I get really excited about this.
Yeah, no, it sounded really a lot like that you agree that blocked or misaligned chakras can have an adverse effect on a person.
Yeah, and it's going to be ever changing. So it can come in many different ways, from a physical standpoint to an emotional, mental, a spiritual. But you have to look at a person holistically in order to really begin to work through that.
Of course, yes. And Rollie, do you have any thoughts on that? The chakras, if becoming blocked or misaligned, would have an effect on the body, maybe even a story where you've noticed that?
And I think that it's huge, like exactly what it is that Michelle said about like how things are all dynamic. Like it all depends on what it is that's going on for everybody and in that person individually and in that particular moment. So having worked in mental health for a number of years, that's one of the things that I've seen over the years, is that things have actually come and gone. And so working from a holistic standpoint, which I've been doing now for the last 10 years, is taking a different approach, because using the traditional ways of dealing with mental health has not always been effective. And so being able to help people understand when their root chakra isn't balanced and why is it not balanced and what kind of things can they do to try and help create that balance. But when it's like just using the root chakra for an example, is that if they are worried about where they're going to live or where their next meal is going to come from, or what what the outcome of the relationship that they're in, like that's that base part of that whole hierarchy of needs. And so if that base and that root is not where it needs to be, then the rest of it's not going to be in alignment. There's no way that it can be in alignment. You might still have some love in your heart and you can still do that, and you can still bring that into that heart piece, but you still need to have that stability. You still need to have that foundation of being able to build on all the different things and all the different parts. And so for me, working with the chakras is also using different techniques and different methods of being able to help people balance through those different things of dealing with the seven chakras. And I physically I typically deal with the seven chakras versus I know that there's so many more, and so I just keep that at a baseline to make sure that people understand and to keep it more simple as to what it is that's going on, and having them working with colors and whatever kind of things that can actually help them bring in that ever-changing connection to whatever it is that they have going on. And like I said, if you don't have those base foundations, the rest of it is you can try and balance all you want, but if you don't have those other things aligned in your life, then things definitely have an impact.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah. And I see even Natasja, we all were nodding in agreement. Yeah. And Natasja, how about you? Do you have experience with clients with blocked or misaligned chakras, and how do you see that they would affect?
Yeah, I think Michelle was saying how she sees them and wanted to know how other people see the chakra system. For me, it's the idea of the gears of a watch or a clock. If one gets stuck, it's going to influence the others. So you think my heart chakra is closed, and you work on that, and in a session, we obviously will pick that up. But it's not just that, right? It is causing the flow of ki to be blocked up and down. And if you think about what the chakras does, or why they cause an illness, it's not necessarily a blocked or a misaligned chakra is causing an illness. It is putting strain on the body because the ki can't flow, which then causes an illness or disruption in the energy flow. And that can manifest in many different ways. And I agree with everything everyone has said, and everyone is so wise. We're just nodding along with what everyone has said. The only thing that someone hasn't said that I think is quite interesting is that Caroline Myss says in her book, Anatomy of the Spirit, that if you are aware of something and you choose not to aware of a negative emotion, and you choose not to release it. So if you've got a client who is hanging on to anger, choosing not to forgive, for instance, even though they know they mean to forgive this person, that's going to cause an even quicker manifestation of the illness. So it's the holding on to something despite knowing you're supposed to release it. So you actually cause it, you give it permission to thrive, this negative emotion. And if you imagine that the gears of a clock are like knowing I'm supposed to forgive, let go of anger, and choosing not to, that's going to bring those gears to a grinding halt, and nothing else is going to be flowing.
Makes perfect sense. That's wonderful. And so also too, we thank your words of wisdom with all of this. And how about you, Jen? How have you had the experience with blocked or misaligned chakras with clients?
Yes, when people come for energy healing, that's the first thing that I do, is I do the chakra balancing. And each chakra has a physical, emotional, and spiritual component to it. So based on the chakra that's blocked or that needs to be balanced, that's a lot of intuitive information that the practitioner can receive to help the client. But physically, it can manifest through illness. Emotionally, it could be stresses or worries or self-confidence. And spiritually, it could be maybe intuition, not feeling connected, not feeling the purpose of life. So those are the ways that I look at which chakra is it, what component is showing up. And then I usually work with the client on maybe the main one or two that I'm noticing, so we can continue forward with that. And I agree with the rest of the women too, that even after chakra balancing and everything's in balance, it's still, the client still has responsibility to maintain that balance, to maintain that energetic balance. And that really comes through what environments are they in? What are they thinking, feeling, acting? Because whenever you can get that into alignment, your thoughts, feelings, and actions, that will really help you anchor in some of that energetic balance that the practitioner just helped you with. So I just wanted to add that component on there too, because I think it's really important for people who are serious about transformation in maintaining it.
That's an excellent point. That is an excellent point. And then even for myself, my journey with Reiki actually began with a blocked chakra. I had never heard of chakras. And my physiotherapist said, your back pain, you're doing all the exercises, it's not working. Let me send you to a colleague of mine who does Reiki. And it took me a month to decide whether I should do it. This was 23 years ago. And I finally said, I've got nothing to lose. So I phoned her and we talked on the phone for quite a while. I was walking with two canes at the time. My back pain was so bad. I can only get up and down the stairs by crawling. And after about 5 sessions, I didn't even remember that I even had back pain. And it was the big piece, Jen. I just wanted to tie in with what you were saying about the follow-up. Because she said for some reason, she was talking about the sacral chakra, that it was so blocked, and told me to start doing the work on it. So I've been learning and researching ever since. And then she taught me my Reiki level 1. And so just learning and growing through Reiki, I can see firsthand how a blocked chakra can really affect your lifestyle and your ability really to move around.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love your
Yeah.
story. I love your story because I've seen the same as well. And if people
Okay.
really take back the control over their life and maintain it, it's beautiful, lasting results. Reiki's amazing. Energy works amazing.
It really is. And now it's that follow-up piece is just really so important with making sure that it's up to the client, obviously, if they want to continue on, making sure that the work that we've done with them is lasting. So that's good. It sounds like each one of us offers some really great stuff to help people to continue to go through the journey. So that was my example, but do any of you have I guess I'd like to go around and ask if there's maybe one of you women who have a specific example, or someone, or yourselves, or one of your clients, what kind of changes did they notice in their lives specifically? And so we'll just keep going in the same order. Michelle, can you think of a specific example or experience maybe you can recall to us?
Yeah, 20 years of client work. I'm trying to filter through real quick one that will come forward. I just want to just also say that what I really encourage my clients to do is to remember that a blocked chakra isn't that they did anything wrong, or a misalignment in their chakra isn't that they aren't trying to be in alignment or anything like that. I have a very trauma-informed approach of how I work with clients, and that is that our chakra systems do the best they can to help us meet the environment that we are in. And so often the environment that we are in, especially as little beings, is we have pretty limited control, and we have pretty limited ability to have a voice, and to have the way in which the energy is meeting us, the way in which we're allowed to express, hey, I have a question or concern or confusion. And I think one of the biggest things that I'm thinking of is I work with clients of all types of things. And one of the main ways that I work with clients on the equine partner psychotherapy side is out in the arena with the horses. And I had one client who was beautiful and she was really struggling, and I knew she loved energy work too. And so I was like, would you be willing to bring that in? And she was willing to bring that in, and she was able to work with between her and one of the horses coming to her and hovering over that heart chakra, then moving down to the sacral chakra and then up to her head. And each point that the horse went to, we were able to get really beautifully, compassionately curious. What do you think the horse is wanting you to see there? What is it that your body wants you to see there? So she was able to see these quote blocks and misalignments, not as there was something wrong with her and she needed to just wax on, wax off, or put her hand and fix it, bring it back in. It was like, let me hear the story that chakra is holding, that is held for a very long time, that has not been able to been given words to. And how do we start to give words to that? And the horse really helped her stay in that space so that she could have a discussion with her own system that really took her into tender places, to moments where she had no voice, to moments where her body did have to recoil itself and hold itself, and then have to keep holding it because it actually wasn't safe for her to raise her hand and say, I need something. Her whole throat chakra was shut down, locked down. The gears, like Natasja was saying, were like, nope, it is not safe to say. And because it's not safe to say, like Natasja pointed out, the root chakra was gone. Her like Earth Star chakra was like blown out. She had no super root because there was nothing for her to hold to. And one of the things, the horses went to a corner and they like all laid down and they rolled and they got up and they shook and they laid down again and they rolled again. And I was like, that's them resetting their own system. And she was like, can I try it? I was like, yeah, let's have at it. And so we went out in the field and she laid down and she rolled and she got up and she shook and she ran. And she was like, she was stretching her body, and she felt what that would feel like to get those gears back in. And so it's just really beautiful. But I find that a lot of times people think that if their chakras are not balanced, they're doing something wrong. And that's like the key place we start all the time, is helping to remove that shame, because it's if their chakras didn't do what they did, if they hadn't figured out how to hold that and protect them, oh my gosh, that would have been like really game over for those people. And so we start with honoring and then asking the body to help us lead it. So that's one of my stories from some good old animal medicine too, because I can't leave my animals. They're a part of my team. In case you guys are clairvoyant, you can probably see my horse herd with me here. So yeah.
That's fantastic. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And Rollie, how about you?
Well, for one, Michelle, you and I need to talk because I have a colleague who does equine assisted learning as well. And so she wants to be able to incorporate that Reiki in with the horses. And so you and I definitely need to talk. And so I just love that. I love that connection. And so just leading into the story of the one client that I had. So this is when I was working in a normal social work setting. And but I still did, my colleagues would say, oh, she does like some quirky, weird things. Like it might be really beneficial for you to go and have a chat with her, because I had this client who came to me who was her just periodically she'd not be able to walk. So she like her legs would just completely give out. She wouldn't be able to walk. She was really struggling with that. They did all the tests to figure out what was going on. And so when we actually had spoke, one of the things that we discovered was that it was connected to her root chakra of feeling unsupported. And so that was one of the things that was happening, is that she was just constantly being like, her body would just completely let go and not being able to move forward. And so in the relationship that she was in, she was really struggling. she was like not feeling, she felt like she was doing all the like the entire part of the work and all those things. And so then when she worked through that process, so she ended the relationship and moved on her own. She didn't have any more trouble with her legs once she got started and got moving again. The two of them have actually rekindled, and they're now back in a relationship again, but she was able to like figure out and discover who she was and balance those things out in order for her to be able to move through. And so, like I said, it was just from that conversation of talking and through of what is going on, what is it that's happening, what's happening in your life. And when I first started the questions, she was, I don't understand, like, why does that matter? And so then as we got talking and we discovered where she was feeling not supported, then she went, oh my gosh, great big huge light bulb opened up. And then she was able to continue to work from there. And so being able to bring in those different types of healing allows us to be able to come from a different approach of not, and again, going back to what I think what Michelle had said about feeling broken and not complete, and that kind of thing was allowed her to be able to find her own security in herself that allowed her to be able to move forward in what she needed to do. And then she was able to bring that relationship back into an alignment for her and her children to be part of that relationship with their dad again. And so it was really beautiful to be able to see. So it was, I think, 5 or 6 years later that I had seen her, and she's like, yeah, we're back together again. Everything's good. We've been able to talk things through. We've done all the things that we need to do, and things are great. So yeah, it's just really important for us to be able to see how things are actually happening and what it is. And it sounds like all of us actually ask the questions, like, what's going on in your life, or where do you see some of the things that are happening? And yeah, so that would be one of the stories that I would think that would be in alignment with what we were talking about.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Thank you. Absolutely. I love that. And how about you, Natasja? Do you have anything in specific story comes to mind?
Yes, actually one from quite recently. It's a client that I saw for a distance Reiki treatment, and she needed some assistance with a bladder infection. So working on the chakras, lots of focus on the sacral chakra for physical healing, for around the area of the sacral chakra for the physical healing, the bladder, kidneys, lower back. I put my all into it. It's like get the physical healing of the bladder infection. And then after the session, or the day after, she reported that she then slept through without any pain or needing to get up for the first time in 3 weeks after the session. So this was amazing. But then I thought we needed another session, a follow-up, right? Do another one. And this time it seemed like the emotional healing had happened. So it makes sense to me that Reiki knows what the person needs. It leads you. So the first time I need pain relief. Second time, now I need to understand or release what caused this infection in the first place. So now she was ready for the emotional things, but that wasn't my intention. This just happened. So after the session, what she told me what happened to her was at some point in the distance Reiki treatment, she felt pressure on her forehead, and then she felt guided, inspired to do cord cutting while I was giving her Reiki. So and my hands were on the sacral, of course, as well. So I was mostly in my mind working on the sacral chakra, which is, of course, where all the emotions lie. So she felt inspired to do cord cutting, and she described to me what she saw in her mind's eye was like she was cutting the cords to people that represented or that reminded her of situations where there was anger, there was fear, there was shame, all those things. So she did all of this. I didn't talk about cord cutting in the beginning. We didn't mention it. I had no instruction to my client to say, go and do cord cutting while you're getting Reiki. This just came to her. And she was saying that every time a cord was cut, she would see a balloon fly up into the sky, but fast, almost like they were popping up. And each balloon was a different color of the rainbow, representing, I would imagine, the different things that she was cutting from the different people. But what she didn't know then was while I was working on her, in my mind's eye, I had placed my finger on her forehead because there was this guidance to open her third eye for intuition, which has got nothing to do with bladder infections, but that's how Reiki works. So open the third eye. And when I was working at her sacral chakra, I saw a hot air balloon. And the hot air balloon had different stripes, almost like this mandala, like the typical chakra colors. The hot air balloon that she was sitting in was made up of all these different colors, and she was drifting off and leaving behind, in my visualization, was a man on the ground. She was rising above all of this, right? Leaving him behind, she's drifting off, she's off to higher, better things. And he's, I step over you, right? I'm above all of this. And the weird thing for me was, in my mind, when I think hot air balloon, I think Penelope Quest has in her book, Reiki for Life, she describes a cord cutting ritual that she uses. That's key to the ritual is a hot air balloon. And I teach this in my master level classes. So when I had an image of a hot air balloon, I was thinking cord cutting. And I'm thinking, that's really odd. Why would hot air balloons come up? Why would cord cutting come up? But okay, I'm going with it. It's fine. So it turns that it then just showed me that when I was working to facilitate the healing in her third eye and in her emotional center, this translated to her, obviously. And if the third eye wasn't opened, she probably wouldn't have been inspired or felt compelled to do the cord cutting. If the sacral chakra wasn't opened, the emotions wouldn't have come out. So for me, that just shows how the chakra system will work together. And if we are led, and if our client is open, it's like, this is the perfect kind of client who would lie on in her house, on her bed, in a distance treatment and say, okay, I'm going to do cord cutting. But it's the third eye that was open. It's the sacral chakra that was open, and they both work together to facilitate the healing. And I actually met up with her yesterday, and the bladder infection is gone, and because the emotions underneath has been released. So that's my story with balloons and cord cuttings and awesome connections.
That's wonderful, Natasja. Thank you very much for sharing that one. And Jen, how about you? I'd love to hear what your example or story. You're just on mute.
Yeah, I loved how it was just described about a couple of chakras working together, because that's how I see a lot of my healings, is a couple of them working together to put together the story, what the client's seeing, what I'm seeing. There's so many stories, because energy healing can help so many things depending on why the client's coming to you or working with you. One that I'm thinking of right now is vertigo. A client coming in having vertigo, and the chakra balancing really helped with that. And it was more of the root and third eye is where the main balancing and what I felt really was needed. And that would just help to balance and ground the client. And her vertigo was gone. I checked in with her days later, still good. So it's really bringing that body back to balance, making sure that everything is good. There's different things with clients will sometimes release, and this is usually through the heart and solar plexus, but they'll see flashes of events as if they're releasing those from their life. And oh gosh, the stories go on because we're healing all the time. There's been past life activations. I have a whole list of things that happen. There's been past life activations, and that's usually like a third eye and crown, where people will actually be able to look into their past lives and gain information from there. So there's a lot of sacred things that happen in the healing room, a lot of healing for clients to get them moving on and feeling better. So not only physically, just emotionally, having more clarity, being able to move forward with their dreams and their goals for life.
Fantastic. And so when we think about someone that has achieved chakra alignment, just even circling back to 2 questions ago, that when we think about the practices and habits, Jen, you were saying that it's always good to give them homework or to help them to continue. Circling back, we'll start with Michelle. What kind of takeaway services do you recommend for your clients? What kind of homework or things that you might give them to do?
I always think that chakras respond so well to touch and dialogue. They want to share what it is that they're either holding or that they want to express. Like maybe there is something that wants to happen in the body, but yet there has been restriction. So what I invite my clients in is just not to do, because I have Eden energy medicine as well. Sometimes the different hand positions to do, say, self Reiki can leave them, am I supposed to be feeling something? It should it be happening? And so sometimes they like some Eden energy medicine exercises in there that give the mind something to do instead of just like holding a different position. But I always encourage them to have that dialogue, like Rollie was talking about, and everybody else has mentioned, is like that dialogue, that self-inquiry with a compassionate curiosity. That is what really helps us hold the changes. And our chakra might show us that there's an ability to change, but to truly hold that, we need to bring the mind with. We need to befriend the mind and bring it and let it come down to the heart center. So one of the things that I really teach my clients to do is to have those discussions with it. What am I feeling? What am I sensing? What is here? What is up for me right now? Start dialoguing with their system instead of just trying to fix it, because fixing is only gets us so far, because it's an ever-changing system. If we know how to turn towards it and we know how to interact with it, then now we feel empowered. My clients, and I'm sure every one of you lovely ladies do the same things. We want our clients to be empowered to be their own healer and to really activate that within them. And so teaching them how to interact and become that beautiful, wise one healer for themselves through that loving attention, that's the biggest key thing that I invite my clients to do, because they can do every energy exercise. They can hold those Reiki positions for 20 minutes a day. But if they aren't learning how to turn towards their system with love and compassion, if they aren't learning how to engage in that dialogue to help troubleshoot when they're feeling totally pulled apart or shut down or every gear is shut, they're going to give up really fast, and they're going to think there's something wrong with them, and they're going to go into that shame. I'm broken. I'm like, this doesn't work for me. And we really want to help our clients feel that true power that's within them, which is their hands, whether they're attuned or not, can light up Reiki and they can talk to their chakras. And so that's my big shtick of what I try to get my clients to do, is like self-compassion and inquiry and doing some of those practices.
You were saying compassionate curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. Compassionate curiosity. I love that. And how about you, Rollie? What do you typically leave your clients?
So very similar to Michelle is getting them, asking them, what does that mean? And so a lot of times my clients are like, okay, stop asking me that, because I often ask, so what does that mean for you? So I saw blue. What does blue mean for you? Or whatever it is that they're feeling or seeing or sensing. And so for a lot of times I have there are some clients that I have, including myself, that I don't visually see anything. I'm sensory, so I feel. I always say I see, but it's like I see in terms of feeling, and so that's one of the things, is reminding people that you're going to take what you need, you leave the rest, but also being able to, how does it feel for you? What works for you and what doesn't work for you? And so like with using the Reiki energy, is bringing in, so like we do tonight would have been my yoga nidra class, but because we were coming on tonight, it's postponed until next week. And so we do, but oftentimes I will actually call in Reiki, especially when there's some emotional turmoil that's going on with somebody in the group. And because it just allows us to be able to have that healing energy coming in and supporting them as they're working through whatever it is that's going on through their body. And what's happening for one person is going to be, even though we're in a group setting, is going to be different for each person. And so it's just really important for them to be able to ask, what does that mean? Why? Without focusing on the negative part of it. It's like, where is it coming from? What's happening? So is this something that's coming up from childhood? Is this something that's happening? So I have one client who often sees probably in the last 6 months, when she's been seeing a lot of things from her past that have happened, some good and some bad. And so it's just my past just keeps coming back from when I was a kid or when I was in a different relationship or whatever it was that was going on. And so for her, by asking the question, what does that mean for you? As she's been able to explore that, what that has meant for her is that she is cutting those cords. It's time to be able to release some of the things that she'd been hanging on to. And so that's what these memories or these flashbacks or these different things that have actually been going on in her life have been allowed her to be able to do. And so it's been from her working with me, reminding her of, what does that mean for you? Why do you think that's coming up? And so being able to understand that has allowed her to be able to say, okay, I get to free myself of all these things because it's not mine to carry anymore. I've actually done the healing on that, in that part of my life, that I can actually move forward and do something different.
That's fantastic. Wonderful. And how about you, Natasja? What do you typically?
Yeah, I usually tell my clients that when they, at the end of a Reiki treatment, you can think of yourself as, this is the new neutral, this is the new me. So you're going to feel on top of the world, your chakras are aligned, you've got this perfect sense of harmony, you feel fantastic. So now go and have an awareness of when that changes, when you no longer feel this way. And then pay attention to, who am I speaking to? Where am I? What am I thinking? What am I doing? What am I not doing that is making me drop down the energetic levels again? So you can have an awareness and you can say, okay, this is obviously messing with my chakras. If I am like this in this situation, thinking this kind of thing, and then change it, rethink the situation, stop, say something different. It's that the responsibility is now on you. I think it was Jen that said it in the beginning. We're talking about, you've got to take it further. When you leave the Reiki treatment room, I can't dictate what you're going to do in your personal life after that point. I've done my bit. It's now up to you to keep it like this, so that there's this good vibe going. And equally, if you notice yourself getting infused with energy, you're like, oh, I'm bursting with love and awesomeness. Where am I? What am I doing? Who am I with? What is causing this even higher state of love in me? And then do more of it. So I tell them that if how you feel after a Reiki treatment, those first 2-3 days, pay attention to what changes that and do more of the one, less of the other. That's my tip. And I also believe that something like the Reiki principles, we learned that in a Reiki level 1 course, but I don't think it's just meant for Reiki students. I actually had them printed on the back of my business cards for a while. So I tell my clients, here are 5 things, actually 6 probably, that you can say every day, that you can focus on to keep you energetically in a good space. Like the secret art of inviting happiness, right? That's what Mikao said. And that's where my happiness method comes from, because the 5 Reiki principles will guide you so that you can stay in that good, perfect state of equilibrium, the positive state where we want to be, which is what Reiki also gives.
That's fantastic. I'm taking notes. Thank you very much, all of you. And Jen, I'd love to hear how you talk to your clients at the end of their session, what kind of advice you give them.
I love the 5 Reiki principles that you mentioned. I got them stenciled on my wall in my office, and they're just words of wisdom. And when you say them, you can feel the nice energy, the calmness that it provides. So Thanks for bringing that up because it's great. For my clients, it really depends. It depends on what the session was like, what came up. So there's different practices. Sometimes it can be, I have a spiritual forgiveness cleanse, which is basically a journaling exercise for forgiveness, forgiving other people, forgiving yourself, that I suggest clients do. Sometimes it can be gratituding in the morning. What are you grateful for? Writing them down, really getting them in a mindfulness state. So I always suggest that everyone meditate or clear their thoughts, whatever that method is for them, at least 15 to 20 minutes a day. And then I have free things that clients can come to if they need more support. So every month every first Thursday, I have questions and answers, which is free. People can call in on Zoom and they can answer their questions. And then I also have a free masterclass, which is about thinking, your thoughts, feelings, and actions. And I take people through that, and that's also free. So I always try to give people some more support. If you need more support, I'm available. But again, it's up to them to show up, to reach out, but it's real easy if they want to continue.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I was thinking, I love everyone's suggestions, and I'm like, oh, I wish I did that. But I really love how we're all coming together. So a little bit like what Jen was saying, I tell my clients to think of 3 words that most kind of resonate with them now, and use those 3 words. So for me, I use peace, ease, and grace. And I say it every morning. Sometimes I'll even push snooze for 5 minutes, so that just as I'm coming online for the day, I just repeat it again and again, just slowly, quietly in my mind while I'm laying in bed, waking up for the day. And for them to choose their own 3 words, it doesn't have to be that, but just to notice, like, do their own experiment for the days that they do that. How do they see their day going? And on the days that they don't do that, do they notice a difference? And then lastly is, before going to bed, just before, I said you can just be standing at the foot of your bed and just imagine that you have all of this energy around you. So you're just taking off all of your energy for the whole day. And you just keep going all the way down right to your feet. And then do that every night before you get into bed, knowing that you're going into a peaceful environment. But I do not have my Reiki principles posted in my office or on my business card. And I've learned a lot here today to add that kind of stuff to my business. And so it looks like we still have a little bit of time here. So we'll just go around with another question. Just being mindful, I'd say we've got 5 to 7 minutes left. That for someone who's new to energy healing, how would you explain the connection between Reiki and the chakra system? Letting them know, like, why aligning the chakras is so helpful. And I hesitated to ask that question earlier because I think we've all already touched on it throughout our answers, which is really fantastic. But someone new to energy healing, I think we all may describe it a little differently as we've gone through the questions and seen that each of our kind of actions and with our clients is slightly different. So if someone was just brand new to energy healing, how would you explain it to them? And we'll just go around again, Michelle.
Okay, I will try to keep it at a minute. So the new spiel that I give to clients is that everything is energy and everything is interconnected and interwoven. And so wherever we bring our attention, that starts us to vibrate with that. And then we start to have a dialogue. And so I typically ask them to touch their own system, touch your shoulder, or tell me as you start to breathe into that. So I don't invite them to dive into an energy experience one-on-one first. I let them experience it within their own body, within their own sharings of what's happening, so that they can start to build their dialogue for them. And that's usually how I start and introduce that, as saying, hey, everything is energy. If you have a kink in the hose, it doesn't matter how much water pressure you have, that kink is not going to let that water keep going to the other side. So instead of getting upset about the fact that the pressure is not good and I need to up the volume, what if we go look at the kink? And we just don't have one kink, we have lots of kinks and holes and punches holes in our hose and everything else like that. And so as we start to holistically work with that, and we trust the body's wisdom to point us in the direction. So you might have something that you really want to focus on, but the body might be inviting us into a different area first, and we'll circle back around. So I try to manage the expectations that way, of letting people know that. And if they have their experience, it really brings it. Reiki principles, just really quick, wanted to hop on that bandwagon. I spent
Yeah,
a whole
please.
year with my clients in my private membership community, where we went through the Reiki principles, and we did them for a couple months each, and really dove into working with those. So I actually teach only off of the Reiki principles and not off of the hand positions or anything else like that. Everything in my practice is based off of the principles, because that's where he really dove in. He went back up that mountain for a reason. He went back up that mountain to get those Reiki principles. And so that is really where that's at. So yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thanks for adding that in. Okay, and how about you, Rollie? How would you speak to someone new to energy healing? What would you say?
Just being able to be gentle and be kind with yourself, and to definitely minimize your expectations and allow whatever needs to happen as it needs to happen. And I always go back to whatever, take what you need and leave the rest, because it's really important for you to be able to have those little bits of pieces of your own wisdom of what it is that's happening, because you're the only person who knows for real what it is that's going to be helpful to you and not helpful to you.
That's awesome. Really empowers the person to be able to make their own choices. And how about you, Natasja?
Really quick, I would say to someone that you are not just your physical body. You are so much more than what you're, not just your physical body. And just as you would take your car for a regular service to prevent things from getting out of control and costing you a lot of money because things are breaking, energy healing, Reiki treatments is the way that you can keep everything aligned and ticking over the way it should be. And in the words of one of my clients who gave me feedback on Google review, he was saying after treatment, he felt grounded yet high on life. And I think that's the Reiki effect. That's probably what you want. So take your car for service.
Fantastic. That's excellent. And how about you, Jen? How do you speak to new people to energy healing?
Yeah, for new clients, I tell them we have an aura or a biofield that surrounds us, that's energy, and it's connected to our physical body through the 7 main energy centers, which we call chakras. And the energy should be flowing freely and unimpeded. And if there's any blockages, this is what helps Reiki. Reiki helps clear some of these blockages. And as the energy is flowing through our body, it kicks in our natural healing abilities. We can heal physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. So I leave it at that just so they can have a visual, so they can understand it a little bit more. But that would be my explanation.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and I'm pretty much the same. I let them know that basically everything in the world is energy, frequency, and vibration, and that each one of the chakras is vibrating at its own kind of rate, and that each chakra has its own individual things that it will do for us. So I'll just give them an example that they can use to just, if they're talking about something, trying to speak their truth, just noticing if they have any kind of sensation right around here, and just familiarizing them with where the chakras are. But I wanted to thank everyone so much for coming here tonight. It was just lovely, and I feel so fortunate to be able to facilitate. And Sophia, welcome back.
Thank you, Sheila, and thank you so much for facilitating such a wonderful panel. I've been sitting here listening to all this incredible information about Reiki, and I'm certainly going to go and take my vehicle for a tune-up. So thank you. Love the tips, love the techniques. Now, I know we didn't get a chance to hear everyone's offers, but for everyone who is listening, do click on the links below because we will be posting all your offers in the notes below. So do that for everyone who is listening or watching. But before we go, very quickly, so I'm Sophia from Sacred You. I have the honor of co-creating Sacred You. Do check out our website, sacredyou.love. We have so much to offer. Not only do we have our panel discussions, we have podcasts, we have tribes, special interest tribes that you can all get to come and experience, including a very special tribe by not only the beautiful Rollie. Would you like to tell us very quickly about your tribe?
So it's a brand new tribe that we just started, and it's called Moon Medicine Circle. And so we actually work in alignment with where things are with the moon energy and where the planets are aligned and how all these things impact us and have an impact in our lives.
And thank you. And Rollie's tribe, or Gigados, Migwan Ki, I will get your name eventually, Rollie, is an incredible tribe, and you can come and experience that. You can actually experience it for free by joining our free membership, sacredyou.love/join free. Come and join our village. It's up and running. It's exciting. You get to watch all our tribes for free, plus everything else we have to offer, which is so much. Click on the links below and check it out. Thank you again for these beautiful women who have just taken up an hour of their time. I am so appreciative. I've learned so much about Reiki and getting this vessel and vehicle tuned up. Thank you.